Captain Ethan stared out of the viewport of the starship horizon, watching the vast stretch of uncharted space ahead. Stars glittered like tiny diamonds, but something about this sector felt different. The readings on the ship's sensors were unusual, an energy signature unlike anything they had encountered before. "This doesn't look like a natural formation," Ethan said, turning to his first officer, Lieutenant Mara. "There's something alive out there. Something powerful." Mara nodded, her brow furrowed. "The readings match the reports from the outer colonies. They've been attacked and no one has survived to tell the story. Whoever or whatever is doing this is dangerous." Ethan took a deep breath. As captain, he carried the weight of his crew's safety on his shoulders. But he also carried curiosity, an unshakable drive to explore the unknown. He adjusted his uniform and tapped the communicator. "Prepare the ship for approach. Let's find out who we're dealing with." The horizon moved silently through the void. Suddenly, a massive vessel appeared on the sensors, a towering ship made of dark, shimmering metal. It seemed alive, as if it pulsed with its own energy. Ethan's stomach tightened. He knew immediately this was no ordinary enemy. As they drew closer, the vessel emitted a burst of energy, and alarms blared on the horizon. "Shields up!" Ethan shouted. Red lights flashed. The crew scrambled, preparing for the worst. From the dark ship, figures began to emerge, warriors unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Their armor glimmered, their movements precise and deadly. At the center, a figure stood taller than the rest, exuding authority and power. It was the alien queen, Zareth. Her presence alone commanded fear and respect. Ethan knew they had no choice. Retreat was not an option. If they fled, the aliens would attack nearby colonies next. They had to engage. "Target their weapons," Ethan ordered. "Mara, fire at the front cannons. Keep our distance." The battle erupted. Energy beams cut through space, striking the hull of the horizon. The ship shook violently, throwing crew members off balance. Ethan gritted his teeth and steadied himself, guiding the ship through evasive maneuvers. Suddenly, a massive energy blast struck near Ethan's command deck. The force threw him across the room, and pain shot through his side. He gasped, feeling something hot trickle down. Blood. He touched the wound. It was deep, and yet strangely he felt no weakness. "Captain," Mara yelled. "You're hurt." Ethan shook his head. "I'm fine. Focus on the ship." His voice was firm, but inside he felt the strange sensation of his wound closing almost as quickly as it had opened. He didn't understand it, but he had no time to think. The alien warriors boarded the horizon, phasing through the ship's defenses as if the barriers were mere illusions. Ethan grabbed his sidearm and moved to intercept them. The warriors were fast and strong, but Ethan's reflexes were sharper. He dodged energy strikes, returned fire, and pushed forward with determination. One of the alien soldiers lunged at him, but Ethan sidestepped, using the warrior's momentum to slam him into a wall. He barely paused to breathe. Every move he made was precise, every action calculated. It was as if his body refused to fail him, even under extreme stress. Then the alien queen herself stepped forward. Her eyes glowed with an intense, unnatural light. She spoke, her voice echoing through the ship like music and thunder at once. "Human, your resilience is remarkable." Ethan didn't have time to respond. The queen raised a weapon unlike any he had seen, a staff that glimmered with pure energy. He felt the air around him hum as if charged with electricity. Mara grabbed his arm, urging him to retreat, but he shook his head. He couldn't leave now, not when his crew depended on him. The queen struck with her weapon, and Ethan felt a searing pain across his chest. He fell to one knee, expecting his body to fail, but it didn't. The wound began to close almost instantly, knitting itself back together. Even he couldn't believe what was happening. The alien warriors froze, staring at him in shock. Whispers passed through them in a language Ethan didn't understand. Mara's eyes widened. "Captain, how are you alive?" Ethan struggled to his feet, breathing hard but steady. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I'm not done yet." The queen's expression changed from anger to astonishment. She had fought countless enemies, yet none had survived such a strike. She stepped back, lowering her weapon slightly, her glowing eyes narrowing. This cannot be real," she murmured. Ethan took a careful step forward, feeling the adrenaline in his veins. "I'm real," he said simply, his voice steady. "And I'm not afraid of you." The queen tilted her head, studying him as if he were a puzzle she couldn't solve. Her warriors hesitated, unsure how to react. Ethan realized he had an advantage, not just physical but psychological. The Queen had never seen a human survive such a wound, and now she had no idea what he was capable of. "Captain," Mara whispered urgently, "we need to get out of here. We can't hold them off forever." Ethan shook his head. "Not yet. We need answers. If this Queen is as powerful as she seems, she might know what's behind the attacks on the colonies. We need to find out." The Queen stepped closer, her weapon lowering completely. She spoke again, this time more softly.
"Human, come with me."
"I wish to see this wound and understand it." Ethan's crew exchanged nervous glances. Mara hesitated, then nodded. "If this is the only way to protect the ship and the colonies, we follow." Ethan allowed himself to be guided through the ship's corridors. The aliens moved with grace and precision, their technology unlike anything humans had developed. He noticed the walls seemed alive, pulsing faintly with energy, and the air smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet. Finally, they arrived at a grand chamber, vast and high-ceilinged, lit by floating energy orbs. Queen Zareth stood at the center, her presence commanding absolute attention. Ethan could feel the weight of her authority pressing down on him, yet he refused to show fear. She gestured for him to approach. "Show me your wound," she commanded. Ethan lifted his shirt slightly, revealing the place where he had been struck. The Queen stepped closer, her glowing eyes scanning the injury. The wound had already closed completely, leaving only faint marks. This is impossible," she whispered almost to herself. "No being should survive such an attack. Yet you not only survive, you heal. How?" Ethan shrugged, trying to remain calm. "I don't know, humans. We're stronger than you might think. That's all I can say." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Her expression shifted from astonishment to curiosity. "You are unlike any creature I have encountered," she said finally. "Perhaps you are the key to something greater." Ethan straightened. "I'm just a captain trying to protect my crew and my people. That's all." The Queen's eyes softened slightly, a hint of admiration in her gaze. But Ethan could sense the question swirling behind them. She wanted to know more, and he knew that this was only the beginning. Outside, the crew of the Horizon held their breath, uncertain of what would happen next. They had survived the battle, but the human captain had now entered the domain of a being far more powerful than anyone they had faced. Ethan took a deep breath. He didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was certain. He had captured the attention of the alien Queen, and his wound, once a symbol of pain, had become a symbol of something she could not comprehend. As the Queen motioned for him to sit, Ethan allowed himself a small private smile. He had faced the impossible and survived. Now he would face the unknown, and he was ready. The chamber's doors closed behind them, sealing Ethan in with the alien Queen. Outside, the stars continued to shine, silent witnesses to a meeting that would change the course of human and alien history forever. Captain Ethan sat in the grand chamber, still trying to catch his breath. The alien Queen, Zareth, remained standing before him, her glowing eyes fixed on his form. The soft hum of the energy orbs above filled the room, and for a moment, silence stretched between them, a silence filled with curiosity, tension, and unspoken questions. "This cannot be real," Zareth said again, her voice soft but steady. "I have seen the strongest of my warriors fall to weapons far weaker than the one that struck you. Yet you endure, you heal." Ethan adjusted his posture, trying not to appear too confident, yet aware that he could not hide what had happened. "I don't know why," he admitted. "Humans, we're tougher than you might think. That's all I can explain." The Queen's eyes narrowed, studying him as if she were reading a book written in a language she did not understand. "There is more to this," she said almost to herself. "There is something unique in your biology, something extraordinary." Ethan realized that this was the moment where the fate of humans and aliens might change. One word from this Queen could decide the future of his crew, the colonies, and perhaps even entire star systems. He took a careful breath and chose his words wisely. "I am not here to fight you personally," he said. "I came to protect my crew, my ship, and the people depending on us. That's all I ask." Zareth studied him, her gaze piercing but thoughtful. Most beings in my experience would have either died in that instant or begged for mercy. Yet you stand and speak as if nothing happened. Your courage is unlike anything I have encountered. Ethan hesitated, unsure if his calm was enough to convince her. "Courage doesn't mean I'm not afraid," he admitted. "It means I face the danger anyway." Humans have always survived by facing what others avoid. We adapt. We endure. The Queen tilted her head slightly, intrigued. Adaptation. Endurance. Perhaps this is what makes your kind stronger than it appears. You possess something my people lack. But why has no one told me this before? Perhaps because no human has survived long enough to show you, Ethan replied quietly. His words carried more weight than he intended, but he saw a flicker of understanding in the Queen's eyes. Zareth waved a hand, and a group of her advisors entered the chamber. They were tall, armored, and looked equally powerful as the warriors Ethan had fought earlier. They bowed slightly, though their eyes betrayed surprise, confusion, and even fear. This human survives what should be fatal, the Queen said, her voice commanding attention. You will study him. I want answers. One of the advisors stepped forward. Your Majesty, it is unprecedented. Perhaps we should experiment. Examine him. Ethan's heart tightened. He had faced dangerous situations before. But being studied by an alien species, even one as advanced as Zareth's, was entirely new. He squared his shoulders. I will cooperate as long as it is safe for my crew and my people, he said. Zareth's expression softened slightly. You are brave as well as resilient. I will not allow unnecessary harm. But I must understand this phenomenon. Perhaps it is the key to the strength your species possesses. The advisors nodded reluctantly, and Zareth gestured for them to begin controlled examinations. The alien medics used devices that emitted soft-colored lights, scanning Ethan's body without touch. Every instrument, every reading made the Queen's eyes widen further. Hours passed as they tested his strength, endurance, and reaction to various stimuli. Each time Ethan endured, his wound long healed and his energy seemingly limitless. Even the Queen herself observed closely, sometimes touching a scanner to him, her curiosity growing. You are remarkable, she said finally, stepping closer. I have studied countless species. I have seen warriors, scholars, and leaders, yet none possess what you do. How can one being survive such wounds and continue to act with clarity and strength? Ethan shrugged, feeling a mix of exhaustion and pride. I don't know, humans, we face challenges every day. Maybe it's not just biology. Maybe it's the will to survive, the drive to protect others. That's part of it too. Zareth's eyes glowed brighter as if struck by realization. Willpower. Protection. You are not only strong in body, but in spirit. Perhaps this explains why your people endure hardships beyond comprehension. It is not just flesh and blood, it is determination. Mara, who had accompanied Ethan into the chamber, observed in awe. She had seen her captain survive impossible odds before, but even she had never witnessed the Queen's fascination firsthand. It was as if Ethan's very existence challenged the Queen's understanding of life, strength, and resilience. One of the advisors whispered to Zareth, Your Majesty, if this human's body continues to withstand damage, perhaps he could serve as a weapon, or a shield for your people. The Queen shook her head, her long, glowing hair flowing as she moved. No, he is not a weapon. He is proof. Proof that humans are unlike any other species we have encountered. That is what fascinates me. Not his use as a tool. Ethan felt a spark of relief. He had feared being seen only as a weapon or a curiosity. But the Queen's words were different. She respected him, at least in part, for his courage and resilience. Your Majesty, he said carefully, I am not here to fight or conquer. My crew and I only want to understand what is happening in this sector. There have been attacks, colonies destroyed. If I can help prevent further harm, I will. The Queen's expression softened even more. For a moment she seemed almost human, curious, thoughtful, and hesitant. Perhaps you are not what I expected. Perhaps humans are more than I was led to believe. If you can survive what you have, perhaps you can survive the truth of this galaxy as well. Ethan's heart raced. He did not know what she meant, but he felt the weight of her words. He had survived impossible odds so far, but he could feel that the real challenge had just begun. You will rest now, Zareth said finally, her voice softer. Your body has endured much today. Tomorrow we continue the studies. I wish to understand everything about you, your biology, your mind, your spirit. Ethan nodded. I will cooperate as long as my crew remains safe. The Queen's eyes glowed faintly in approval. So it shall be. Your crew will be protected. But know this. Your presence here has changed my perspective. Humans are extraordinary. As Ethan was escorted to a resting chamber, he felt a mix of relief and unease. He had survived a battle that should have killed him, and he had amazed at being more powerful than any he had encountered. Yet he knew that questions remained. Questions about the alien queen, her warriors, and the attacks on the colonies. Mara joined him as he settled onto the bed. "Captain, that was incredible. You healed right in front of them." Even the queen couldn't believe it. Ethan smiled faintly, rubbing his side where the wound had been. "I don't understand it myself, Mara, but we need to be ready. If the queen is this curious, we are now part of something bigger than we imagined." Outside the chamber, the alien queen returned to her observation platform. She gazed down at the human, her mind racing. His resilience, courage, and determination were unlike anything she had seen. He had survived wounds that would have killed the strongest alien in her army, and he had faced her without fear. "This human, he is different," she murmured. "Perhaps humans have a strength we have underestimated for far too long. Perhaps he will change everything." Her advisors watched silently, unsure what to make of her fascination, but Zareth's mind was made up. This human, this Captain Ethan, was no ordinary being, and his presence would alter the course of her empire, and perhaps the galaxy itself. As night fell across the alien world, Ethan rested, unaware that his actions had already begun to shift the balance of power. The Queen's astonishment had grown into curiosity, and her curiosity could turn into something far greater. Ethan had survived the impossible once. Tomorrow he would face challenges that would test not only his body but his mind and spirit. Yet one thing was certain: the alien queen could no longer see him as just another being. He was something extraordinary, and that realization would change everything. The following morning, Captain Ethan awoke to the soft hum of alien technology surrounding his resting chamber. His body felt strong, completely healed from the wound that had astonished Queen Zareth. He sat up slowly, stretching, and could hardly believe what had happened yesterday. He had survived the impossible, amazed not only the Queen but also her elite advisors. Yet something in the air told him that today would be more challenging. Mara, his first officer, waited outside the chamber, her face a mix of curiosity and concern. "Captain," she whispered, "I don't know how you did it, but the Queen's fascination with you has grown. She wants you observed, tested further, and I think some of her court doesn't like it." Ethan nodded, his mind already running through possibilities. "I expected that," he said quietly. "If I am something they don't understand, some will see me as a threat. We need to stay alert but calm. Remember, Mara, every action we take now will shape what happens next." The chamber doors opened and an alien aide stepped inside. His skin was smooth and silver-toned, and his eyes glowed faintly with intelligence. "Captain Ethan," he said in a polite, resonant voice, "Queen Zareth requests your presence in the council hall. It is time to continue the observations and discussions." Ethan nodded. He followed the aide down twisting corridors filled with softly pulsing energy panels. He noticed that the architecture seemed alive, almost breathing, and he wondered how long such technology had existed. Humans had much to learn, he thought. The council hall was vast, with a circular platform at its center. Queen Zareth sat on a raised throne, her glowing presence filling the space. Around her, the advisors and generals of her empire were assembled, their expressions a mixture of awe, skepticism, and quiet tension. "Captain Ethan," Zareth said, her voice echoing through the hall, "you have survived what should have ended your life. You heal in ways no being should. I must know why humans are so resilient." Ethan bowed slightly, keeping his composure. "I don't know, Your Majesty. I can only tell you that humans endure. We face hardship and danger, and we keep moving forward. Maybe that's part of it." One of the advisors, a tall figure with ornate armor, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, this human is extraordinary, yes, but he is still an unknown variable. Perhaps we should limit his influence. We cannot risk our empire on a being we cannot control." A murmur ran through the council. Some agreed, their voices low but sharp. Others looked uneasy, sensing the Queen's growing fascination with Ethan. Zareth's gaze swept across them. "You underestimate him," she said calmly. "This human is not a weapon to wield. He is a proof of something far greater. Perhaps it is a warning, or perhaps a lesson. We will not act out of fear. We will observe, understand, and respect what he is." Ethan sensed the tension in the room. Some of the council did not like being told to hold back, to respect an outsider. Political intrigue was alive here, even as he had just survived the impossible. He realized he had to navigate carefully, not only to protect himself but also his crew and the human colonies at risk. The Queen waved her hand, signaling the advisors to quiet down. "We will test him further," she continued, "but not to harm. He will participate in challenges designed to measure strength, intellect, and adaptability. He must also meet our generals and understand our tactics. This will help us determine how humans fit into the larger balance of power." Ethan nodded. "I understand," he said. "I will cooperate." The first test began with strategy. Ethan was led to a holographic battlefield, where virtual enemy forces moved across a terrain of mountains, rivers, and fortified positions. Zareth and her generals watched as he analyzed the battlefield, positioning forces, predicting enemy movements, and adjusting tactics on the fly. Minutes passed and Ethan's decisions proved accurate, outmaneuvering the simulated enemies with precision. Some of the generals whispered in disbelief. They had never seen a being unfamiliar with their tactics perform so well. Zareth leaned forward, her glowing eyes shining. "Interesting," she said softly. "Not only is he resilient in body, but his mind is sharp, adaptable, and fearless. He possesses qualities our species has long overlooked." The next challenge was endurance. Ethan was placed in a chamber designed to test his strength and stamina. Gravity fluctuated, energy pulses struck the walls, and holographic obstacles challenged his reflexes. Yet again he moved with precision, adapting to every change, every threat. The wound on his body was gone, healed completely, but the test was designed to see if he could endure without the benefit of healing. Hours later, he emerged, breathing hard but steady. Zareth observed him carefully. "Remarkable," she said. "Your body, your mind, your spirit. It is as if humans were built to survive and overcome." But even as Ethan earned the Queen's respect, he noticed something troubling. Whispers ran through the council. Some advisors exchanged worried glances. He realized that not all in the court would accept his presence. Some would see him as a threat to their authority, to the hierarchy they had maintained for centuries. During a break, Mara approached him quietly. "Captain, some of them don't like what you're doing here. If they act against you, it could be dangerous." Ethan nodded. "I know, we have to be careful. But fear will not guide us. We adapt, we endure. That's what humans do. And perhaps if we show them what it means to act with courage, they will understand." Later, Zareth called him to a private chamber. The room was smaller, quieter, and the air shimmered faintly with energy. She stepped closer, her presence commanding, yet different from the public chamber. "Captain Ethan," she said, her voice almost gentle. "You have survived tests no being should endure. You have faced challenges that would crush the strongest alien warrior. Tell me, how do you do it?" Ethan looked her in the eyes. "I don't know," he admitted. "It's not just about surviving. It's about keeping hope alive, protecting those who depend on me, and never giving up. Humans survive because we fight, because we endure. That's the truth." The Queen considered this. Her glowing eyes softened, and for a moment she seemed lost in thought. "Perhaps humans have strength that is not only physical. You possess determination, resilience, and courage in ways that are foreign to us. You challenge what I believed about life, about strength." Ethan felt a sense of relief. He had feared being reduced to a subject, a curiosity, or even a weapon. But the Queen's words suggested respect, admiration, and perhaps something more profound: understanding. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the palace. The council chambers and observation platforms lit up with warnings. Rebel forces within the Queen's empire had attempted an assault, hoping to eliminate Ethan and regain control of the political situation. Ethan reacted immediately. "Mara, get the crew ready. We need to move fast. The Queen's enemies are making their move." Zareth's eyes narrowed, her posture tense. "They dare attack in my domain? Captain, I need you to help defend the palace. Show them what humans are capable of." Ethan did not hesitate. With Mara at his side, he coordinated defense teams, combining human ingenuity with alien technology. Despite being outnumbered, his leadership and quick thinking turned the tide of the skirmish. Traps were activated, ambushes countered, and enemy forces were repelled. Zareth watched from her platform, astonishment and admiration mixing in her expression. Not only had Ethan survived impossible wounds, but he had also defended her palace with courage, strategy, and strength that no alien had ever shown. After the battle, silence returned to the palace. The Queen stepped down, approaching Ethan personally. "You have proven something extraordinary today. Not just your resilience, but your spirit. You are unlike any being I have encountered. Perhaps humans are the key to something greater than I imagined." Ethan nodded, exhausted but steady. "I only did what humans do. We survive, we protect, we endure. That's all." Zareth's gaze lingered on him, glowing faintly. "Your presence here has changed my perspective, Captain. You are no longer just a human to me. You are proof that strength comes in ways my species has overlooked. Perhaps the galaxy itself will learn from you." Ethan felt the weight of her words, knowing that he had earned respect and trust in ways he never expected, but he also knew that new challenges were coming. The Queen's empire, the rebels within it, and the mysteries of the galaxy were all far from solved. As he returned to his quarters, Ethan realized that surviving wounds and battles was only part of the journey. The real challenge would be navigating the complexities of a new culture, earning trust, and proving that humans were not just resilient, they were extraordinary. And somewhere deep within the palace, Queen Zareth watched him, fascinated, curious, and perhaps already planning how to learn everything she could from this remarkable human. The alarms had barely stopped echoing when Queen Zareth called Captain Ethan to the command platform of her palace. The atmosphere was tense. The earlier rebellion within her council had revealed weaknesses she could not ignore. Outside the palace, sensors had detected a new threat, an alien species far more aggressive than any her people had faced. They were moving swiftly toward her planet, armed and ready to conquer. "This is not a drill, Captain," Zareth said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "These invaders will not wait for diplomacy. My forces alone may not hold them off. I need you to lead a contingent with humans and our loyal soldiers." "Can I trust you?" Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the familiar mix of adrenaline and determination. "You can, Your Majesty. I'll do everything I can to protect your people. And my crew." Zareth's eyes softened slightly. "Good, then let us begin. Your strategy may be the difference between survival and annihilation." Ethan quickly gathered his team. Mara stood at his side, her expression determined. "Captain, this is going to be tough," she said. "But if anyone can coordinate humans and aliens together, it's you." Ethan nodded. "We survive by thinking fast and staying united. That's what humans do, and today we prove that humans and aliens can work together to face anything." The battle plan was simple yet daring. Ethan suggested using a combination of human ingenuity and alien technology to outmaneuver the attacking forces. They would split into squads, each responsible for intercepting the invaders at different points while using traps and energy barriers to slow their advance. The Queen observed closely as the preparations began. She had seen warriors fight before, but watching humans and her soldiers coordinate under Ethan's leadership was extraordinary. His calm, strategic mind inspired confidence and unity among soldiers who were used to following strict commands without question. As the first wave of invaders approached, Ethan took his place at the forefront, his energy and determination radiating to everyone around him. "Stay alert. Watch each other's backs. Remember, adapt, endure, survive." The invaders struck with ferocity. Their ships descended from orbit, firing energy beams at defensive positions. Alien soldiers engaged in combat on the ground, their weapons clashing with advanced alien technology in a spectacular display of light and sound. Ethan moved through the battlefield with precision. He directed squads to critical positions, anticipated enemy maneuvers, and used both human and alien tactics to create traps and ambushes. His wound, once a symbol of survival, now inspired others. Soldiers noticed how calm he remained under fire, how he adapted to every challenge, and how he never faltered no matter the odds. At one point, a massive energy cannon from an enemy ship targeted a group of defending soldiers. Ethan quickly calculated the trajectory and ordered a precise counterstrike. The cannon misfired, exploding harmlessly in the distance. The soldiers cheered, their morale lifting with every small victory. The Queen observed silently, her glowing eyes following every move. She had underestimated the humans' strategic capabilities, assuming strength lay only in physical power. Ethan had proven otherwise. His mind was as sharp and adaptable as any weapon in her arsenal. Hours passed, and the battle raged on. Enemy forces were relentless, but Ethan's leadership turned their aggression into confusion. Using terrain to their advantage, combining human ingenuity with alien technology, the defenders began to gain the upper hand. At one point, Mara noticed a group of invaders trying to flank their position. "Captain, they're moving behind our left wing," she shouted. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Not if I can help it. Split the squad, take the drones to block them. I'll lead a counterstrike with the rest." He dashed forward with a small team, using energy shields and quick maneuvers to intercept the flank. They engaged in close combat, and despite being outnumbered, Ethan's calm and precise movements turned the battle in their favor. The invaders were pushed back, disoriented by the unexpected strategy. From her observation platform, Zareth could hardly believe what she was seeing. This human, he is more than I imagined. He does not rely solely on strength. He uses his mind, his courage, his heart. He inspires loyalty and fearlessness alike. Perhaps this is what makes humans extraordinary. The tide of battle continued to shift. Ethan's team used clever traps, defensive energy barriers, and coordinated attacks to drive back wave after wave of invaders. Soldiers who had doubted humans began to follow his commands instinctively. The Queen's generals, impressed by his ingenuity, started to see him as a true leader, capable of uniting two very different species under a common purpose. Finally, the enemy fleet began to retreat, recognizing that victory was impossible against a force so well coordinated and determined. Ethan had not only defended the planet, but also proved that humans could lead and inspire even the most disciplined alien warriors. As the battlefield fell silent, Ethan's team regrouped. Mara patted him on the shoulder, her face full of admiration. "Captain, you did it. You actually did it." Ethan exhaled deeply, surveying the aftermath. The defenses held, the enemy retreated, and the casualties were far fewer than expected. "We survived because we worked together," he said quietly. "Humans, aliens, we endured because we stayed united." Queen Zareth descended from her platform, her glowing eyes fixed on Ethan. She walked across the battlefield, her steps deliberate and commanding. "Captain Ethan," she said, her voice echoing over the clearing, "you have done what no other being could. You have turned the tide of battle and saved this planet. Your resilience, your strategy, and your courage, they are beyond what I thought possible." Ethan bowed slightly, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what humans do. We survive, we protect, we endure." The Queen's expression softened as she regarded him. "No, you did more than survive. You led, inspired, and changed the outcome of a war. Perhaps humans are a force to be reckoned with, not only in body but in spirit." She gestured to her generals. "Take note, all of you. This human is proof that strength is not measured solely by physical power. Adaptability, courage, and determination can alter the course of events. Remember this day." Ethan felt the weight of her words. It was not just a personal acknowledgement, it was a recognition of humanity itself. His actions had not only earned him respect, but had begun to shift the Queen's perspective on his entire species. That evening, as the battlefield cleared and the survivors tended to their wounds, Ethan and Mara returned to the palace. Zareth awaited them in a quiet chamber away from the public eye. "You have changed the way I see humans," she said softly. "I underestimated your species. I believed strength lay in weapons, power, and dominance, but you show that courage, intelligence, and endurance are equally powerful. Perhaps your kind has something we have overlooked for too long." Ethan nodded. "We have faced challenges before, Your Majesty. Humans survive because we face the impossible, adapt, and keep moving forward. That is who we are." Zareth smiled faintly, a rare expression for one so powerful. "You are remarkable, Captain Ethan. Your presence here has begun to form a bond, one of understanding, respect, and perhaps something more. I want to learn from you, and I want my people to see the truth of your kind." Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction. He had survived the impossible, gained the respect of a powerful alien ruler, and united humans and aliens in battle. But he also knew the challenges were far from over. There were still enemies beyond the stars, political intrigue within the Queen's court, and mysteries about human resilience that even he could not fully understand. As night fell across the planet, Ethan stood at a window overlooking the battlefield. The stars sparkled above, silent witnesses to the courage, strategy, and unyielding spirit of humanity. He had endured, he had led, and he had survived the impossible. Somewhere deep in the palace, Queen Zareth watched him, her mind filled with questions and admiration. This human had proven that strength came in many forms, physical, mental, and spiritual. And she knew in her heart that humans were a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. For Ethan, it was another step in a journey that had begun with a single, astonishing wound. And for the Queen, it was the beginning of a realization that would change the course of her empire, and perhaps the entire galaxy, forever. The sun rose slowly over the alien world, casting golden light across the palace and the battlefield below. Captain Ethan stood on the observation deck, his eyes scanning the horizon. The remnants of the recent battle had been cleared, and life was slowly returning to normal. Despite the exhaustion, he felt a quiet satisfaction. Humanity had survived, and the aliens had witnessed firsthand the strength, courage, and resilience of a human leader. Mara joined him, her expression softening as she looked at her captain. "Captain, the soldiers, both human and alien, are talking about you. They respect you. Some even call you a hero." Ethan shook his head modestly. "We did this together, Mara, humans and aliens. The respect is shared, not earned alone. What matters is that we protected lives, not personal glory." At that moment, Queen Zareth appeared behind them. Her glowing eyes reflected the rising sun, a rare softness in her expression. "Captain Ethan," she said, her voice calm but commanding, "you have done more than survive and fight. You have shown my people what it means to act with courage, honor, and determination. You have changed the way we see humans." Ethan turned toward her, bowing slightly. "Your Majesty, it was only my duty. I only acted to protect others." Zareth studied him carefully, then nodded. "And that is exactly why you are extraordinary. Many beings think of survival as self-preservation. But you fight for others, even at great risk to yourself. That is the essence of true strength." The Queen's advisors and generals now gathered behind her, looked on with new understanding. Many who had doubted Ethan before now bowed respectfully. Some whispered among themselves, clearly surprised by the display of leadership, courage, and strategy he had demonstrated. "Your presence here has not only saved lives but has opened new possibilities for cooperation between humans and aliens," Zareth continued. "The galaxy is vast, filled with challenges we cannot face alone. Your actions have proven that humans possess qualities that can change the course of events. Perhaps we underestimated your species for too long." Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. It was one thing to survive impossible odds and fight in battle, but earning respect, recognition, and trust from one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy was something entirely different. Suddenly, a messenger arrived with urgent news. Another human colony, previously threatened by enemy forces, had reported no casualties. The invaders had retreated completely after witnessing the combined human-alien defense. The news spread quickly through the palace and across the planet, further cementing the humans' newfound reputation. Mara smiled. "Captain, you've done more than just survive. You've proven that humans are capable of more than anyone expected, even here among beings far stronger than us." Ethan nodded. "It's not just me. It's the crew. Our courage and our willingness to act despite fear. Humans endure because we choose to face the impossible, not because we are invincible." Zareth stepped closer, her glowing presence commanding yet strangely comforting. "Captain Ethan, there is something I must ask of you. My empire has learned to respect your people thanks to you, but I also wish to understand more, to learn from humans directly. Will you stay at least for a time to help guide us?" Ethan considered the request carefully. He had spent only a short time among the alien empire, yet he had already witnessed incredible power, political intrigue, and challenges far beyond anything humans faced. Staying would allow him to protect both humans and aliens, to ensure peace and to continue building trust. "I will, Your Majesty," he said finally, "but only if it helps prevent harm and ensures cooperation. Humans endure, yes, but we also act to protect life. That will always be my priority." Zareth's expression softened, a rare warmth in her glowing eyes. "Then it is agreed. You will remain as an ambassador of your people, and together, we will explore what humans can offer my empire and what my empire can learn from you." Later, as Ethan walked through the palace gardens, he noticed that the alien soldiers no longer regarded him with suspicion or fear. Instead, they looked at him with curiosity, respect, and even admiration. Some whispered to each other, pointing toward him, while others bowed slightly in greeting. Mara walked beside him, her tone quiet. Captain, it's remarkable. You've done more than survive. You've built trust, respect, and perhaps a bond between our species. That's something even the strongest alien warriors could not accomplish. Ethan smiled faintly. Mara, humans endure, yes, but we also inspire. People follow those who act with courage and fairness, no matter who they are. That is how trust is built, even among the most unlikely allies. Meanwhile, Queen Zareth observed from a distance, her thoughts deep and unspoken. Ethan had survived impossible wounds, led in battle, and earned respect beyond what she had imagined possible. She had watched him not just survive, but inspire, adapt, and endure, and now she understood why humans had thrived for so long in the galaxy, despite challenges far greater than their strength alone could overcome. Days passed, and Ethan worked closely with the Queen and her advisors. He shared human strategies for survival, teamwork, and problem-solving. He demonstrated how humans adapted to changing circumstances, how they used creativity and determination to overcome challenges, and how courage could inspire unity among diverse groups. Each day, the Queen grew more fascinated and respectful. She began to speak of Ethan not only as a protector, but also as a teacher, someone whose wisdom and resilience could guide her empire. Even the most skeptical advisors began to see the truth. Humans were extraordinary in ways beyond simple physical strength. One evening, Zareth invited Ethan to a private chamber overlooking the galaxy. Stars stretched endlessly, glittering like a tapestry of light. She turned to him, her expression thoughtful. Captain Ethan, you have changed the way I see not only humans, but also my own empire. You have shown that strength is more than power, that leadership is more than authority, and that courage can inspire loyalty in ways we never imagined. Ethan nodded. Thank you, Your Majesty. I only acted as humans do. We face impossible odds, adapt, and protect those who rely on us. That's all. Zareth's eyes glowed softly. No, you have done more than act. You have taught, inspired, and shown what is possible when courage, intelligence, and determination are combined. Perhaps one day humans and my people will face the galaxy together, not as conquerors but as allies. Ethan felt a quiet pride. He had survived impossible wounds, led a successful defense, and built a bridge of understanding between two very different species. But more importantly, he had shown that humans could inspire, endure, and unite even the most skeptical of beings. The days that followed were filled with cooperation and learning. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing knowledge, improving defenses, and exploring new technologies. The bond that Ethan had begun to build extended throughout the palace and into the empire. The Queen watched closely, fascinated by the resilience, adaptability, and spirit of the human species. Ethan stood once again on the observation deck, looking at the stars. He knew the challenges were far from over. New threats would arise, political intrigue would continue, and the mysteries of the galaxy would never end. Yet he felt ready. Humans endured and they inspired. They faced impossible odds and emerged stronger. Queen Zareth joined him silently, her glowing presence warm and reassuring. She looked at him, her expression reflecting respect, curiosity, and perhaps admiration. Captain Ethan, she said softly, you have shown that humanity is not to be underestimated. Your actions have changed my empire and perhaps even the galaxy itself. Ethan smiled faintly. We endure, Your Majesty, and sometimes endurance is more powerful than any weapon. The Queen nodded. Indeed, and your presence here ensures that humans are no longer unknown, no longer underestimated. You have earned your place among my people, not only as a protector but as a symbol of courage and strength. For the first time since arriving on this alien world, Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had survived wounds that should have killed him, led in impossible battles, earned respect, and built trust. He had changed the way humans were seen, not just as survivors, but as beings capable of inspiring courage and unity across the galaxy. As the stars sparkled above, Ethan knew this was only the beginning. Humans had much to offer, much to endure, and much to inspire. And with allies like Queen Zareth and her empire, the galaxy was ready to witness what humans could truly achieve. And so, a human captain, once astonished to survive a wound that should have ended his life, had become a symbol of endurance, courage, and inspiration, proving to aliens and humans alike that strength comes not only from power, but from spirit, heart, and determination.